Hello and welcome to the transcription explanation of this design. It was done in a more geometric linear script, and I want to include some hexagons and other kind of ellipses in non-perfectly circular shapes. And in this layout, I have this little section here, and this little section here is the attribution to Mildred Olive as Beatrice. So if you would like to have this part of the design, you can totally do that, and if you would not like to have that part of the design, I made it so it still looks quite nice, even without that the halo of the name around the last bit of the design. So this can be done separate if you want just this without the name, because, yeah. Let's go ahead and read it. So you read the script starting at the bottom and you go counterclockwise, like a time traveler going back in time. And you'll notice I put start markers. So this shape here, this kind of like half circle with a little dot in the middle, that tells you which direction to start reading. And I also have that at the bottom here. So that allows you to rotate the design or flip the design or otherwise manipulate the design, and you can still figure out where the bottom is in which order to read it. So you don't have to keep it like this. If you want to flip it completely upside down, you are welcome to do that as well. You can mirror it, you can flip it, whichever one you want to do, however you want to do it, that works with me, and it will work with the design, so you could even like do it like this if you wanted. But anyway, this is the more typical order. And let's go ahead and read it. So here's your little start marker telling you to start here, and this is our first word circle. And on this word circle there are two letters. There's this one and there's this one. This little guy is a vowel. In fact, there's another vowel there, vowel, vowel, vowel. Vowels are little guys that are empty in the middle. And our bigger circle that crosses our word circle line is going to be a consonant because it's a bigger circle. And this one crosses our word circle line. So if you look in the column above me, in the grid above me, at the very bottom row, you'll notice it starts with the letter TH, that letter combo. And a TH is a full circle crossing our word circle line, because if you look at the very start of that row, the start of that row, you have a crossing circle starting that row. And then if you look at the row above it, you have a horseshoe shape. Well, this shape, this shallow divot, like somebody took a bite out of a cookie. Then you have a floating circle floating inside our word circle. Then you have at the very top row a horseshoe shape. So anyway, this is a TH because it has no dots or lines with it, because this dot is part of the start here marker and isn't part of the letter, and there's no lines ending on it, so it's a TH. And then we have an E, a little guy just on our word circle. So that's the word the. And then we have this word. And here's our word circle line. And on this word circle line, which I have marked red, there are a couple of lines. These little guys are line modifiers coming from this, but there's two full circles here. This thin one on the outside has these two dots closest to it. So it's going to be a full circle with two dots. So it's going to be the second row, and in the column with two dots above it, so that's going to be the third column, because there's the nothing column, the one dot column, and then the two dot column, and that's the letter K. And then we have this guy, and this is a thicker circle, and if they're stacked like this, you read thin to thick. So it's the K before this one, and this one has one line ending on it, so that's an N. So that's a K and then an N. And then we have an O, and this O is inside our word circle. Then we have this shallow divot with two lines. So these little guys, they are the lines coming off of the W. Then we have an I with a line going inwards. And then last but not least, we have this crossing circle with one line, two lines, three lines. Because this doesn't pass through, like you don't see the circle on the back side of this, and the line ends here and the line ends here. It's just line modifiers coming off of this NG, crossing with three lines. So that's knowing. And then we'll move on to this word circle here. And on this word circle, we have a Y, a crossing circle with two dots closest to it. So you see how there's this pattern of 5 dots? There's 3 dots with the letter on top, and there's 2 dots with the letter on bottom. So that's a Y. And then we have these 2 vowels, and you can tell the order of them, again, with that thin to thick rule. So this O is the thin one, so that's first, and then this U is the thick one. And a U has a line going outwards, and an O is in the internal position, like this. And then we have these 2 extra lines. So these lines are modifiers all the way up here on this F, here on this letter F. So we need to add these extra 2 little lines to make the apostrophe, and then a horseshoe with 1, 2, 3 dots for the D. So that's a Y, O, U, apostrophe, D. So the word you'd And then this word circle, we have another stacked set of letters. This thin one here has 1, 2, 3 lines on it, so that's the letter S. And then this thick one has no lines on it, so it's a T. Then we have an O inside the word circle, and then this line and this line end on this full circle, so that's a P. So the lines that go through don't count, so that's 1, 2 lines ending on this P, so that's the word stop. And then we have this shallow divot, so we're in the third row, and there's no lines ending on it and no dots by it, so that's the letter T. Then we have an I with a line going inwards, then a full circle with 1, 2, 3 lines ending on it. This one passes through, and then an E. So T-I-M-E is time, and then we have 1, 2, 3 lines on the letter F, and then an O is positioned inside of our word circle. And then we have a shallow divot with 1, 2, 3 dots for the R on 4. And it's okay that this is squished kind of like an oval. I did that to kind of help make this squished oval look more in place and kind of get a more three-dimensional look to the design. And then we have another TH, a crossing circle with no letters, and an E centered on our word circle, and then 1, 2, 3 lines on this M for the M on them, and then we have an I line going inwards, and then this horseshoe with 1, 2, 3 lines on it for the F. And then we have this word circle with 2 dots on a crossing for another Y. The O is inside and a U has a line going out. And then we have this crazy word. So I really wanted to play with symmetry with this design. So I wanted to make the word could perfectly symmetric. And to do that, I had to do some crazy letter stacking. Because you'll notice there's lines crossing through these vowels. That's another rule. And typically, consonants are read before vowels. But a slash through a vowel moves it up a letter in the stack. So here we have a C with 4 dots, and then a L with 1, 2, 3 dots. So that's a C and an L, and then this is a U with a line outwards, and that's an O. So those are our letters. We have a C. We have an. Oh, come on. Let me type. We have our C. We have an. Oop. N. We have the O, and we have the U. Alright, so these letters. Our C is gonna be first because it's thin, and our N is gonna, wait, this is, why, that's an L. There's no N. Why am I writing an N? Because of the line, that's why. Anyway, so this L is our thicker consonant. So we have the consonants thin to thick, and then we have our vowels thin to thick. So these little vowels are currently, do I need to have 2 lines? Okay, so there was a recent clarification on the letter stacking. So, because we want C-O-U-L, right? So each of these little guys need to be jumped 2 places, like that. But they need to be stacked, but you can't stack them because they are... I think I need to put a second line on the U. Yeah, that'll fix it. Which is a little sad because I don't like the look of double lines. Alright, so now this fits with the rules. Okay, so we have things in order based on the thin to thickness rules. So we have the consonants before the vowels, and then them ordered thin to thick. And then we have to put in our little jumps. So, here is a little line showing that this gets 1 jump. And it's on the wrong side of it. I have to make the marker size low. That's a nice arrow shape. I like that arrow shape. We'll do that arrow shape. Okay, so that gets one jump. And this U gets two jumps. So it's going to jump there, and it's going to jump there, which puts them both in the same position. So this gets jumped there, and this gets jumped there. And then we order them thin to thick, which this thin to thick order, the O is going to be before the U. And then we have our D, finally, our horseshoe with 3 dots. So that's the crazy letter stacking stuff I did to make it in a nice symmetric line, like this. And I'm shifting things even more, just to give a little bit more room for those dots there. Okay. Yep. Hey, that works. And again, talking through crazy letter stacking stuff, for this whole thing, we have the letter C. We're going to actually change these colors. So the C, we'll do red. And here's our C. Our O, we're going to do dark blue. Our U, we're going to do a green. And then the L, we'll do a purple. Okay. So here's our letters again. We'll make these dots purple as well. These dots red. These lines green. And this line dark blue. Okay. So here we have our bits, and again, going through, we have a letter C, we have a letter L, we have a letter O, and we have a letter U. Okay, and then we do them in consonants before vowels, so that's kind of what we did here with the C and the L before the O and the U. And then we do thin to thick, so the C is going to go before the L, because it's thin, and the O is going to go before the U. Cool. And then we're going to do our jumps. So the U has 2 jumps. And then the O has 1 jump. And then we apply our jumps. Okay, so now we're like this. And then we look again. And a U. A U has the thick line, so it's going to go after the O, which is the thin line. So that's how they get ordered. That's how you can solve the order. Because typically order is just bottom counterclockwise, which is why we can have the I before the F, the Y, and then the consonant is before the vowel for the O, and then the U. It's T-H-E-N. No, that's it. M. Yeah. But yeah. So that's some crazy letter stacking there. Yippee. But it works. And that's how you read the crazy letter stacking. Okay, so that's the knowing you'd with the apostrophe stop time for them if you could. And let me make my colors all go back. Okay. So that's that, and now let's read this. So here we have a start marker, and we're going this way. We have 3 lines on an M, and then an E is centered, and then 1, 2, 3 dots on this L, and then 1, 2, 3 dots on this D, and then 1, 2, 3 dots on this R, and then an E is centered, 2 lines on the W, an O, and then L, I, V, E, so that's olive. And then we have ESS, and then BEATRICE. So that's the name for the attribution. So yeah, that's your design. I hope you like it. Thanks. Bye.